Jason Ackerman, welcome back to the show. We are live. How's your day going, friend?
I'm not going to talk today. Cody told me not to talk on the podcast.
Not what I said.
Can I share my screen? I'm pretty sure that's exactly what you said.
This is you guys thought this was going to be about what do I do next as a coach, but this is about the giving and receiving of feedback, everybody.
Cody likes giving feedback. Cody does not like receiving feedback. Good advice.
Correct, Corey. Correct, Corey. That was good advice. Jay should not talk.
All right. Glad to see Cody's alive. Fern, were you worried? I was worried Cody was not going to make it.
I was super pumped for Cody to leave in order to get a break from you. I was very happy that all of that was going to happen.
How was your vacation, Cody? How was St. Lucia?
It was solid. That was I was telling Fern earlier. That was mine and Shayna's first time traveling internationally. So new experience for us. And
tell the story. Tell Fern. Are you gonna get in trouble? I don't want to get you in trouble.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
With trouble with who? What's the
trouble with his wife? Most importantly.
Right, well, so we have an airport.
A crazy story about swingers outside my office. It's like you couldn't get any worse than that.
I'm in.
The swingers are not outside my office. Just the record. I was listening to a story being told about swingers outside my office.
That's fair.
Look at Trish's compliment. I tried to do this to Cody yesterday. He yelled at me about it. I said, Trish, no joke. I text Cody, "You're so good looking," and then here's the feedback. Oh no, what did I say? You're so awesome. And it doesn't sound like you.
Yeah, because you messaged me, "How are you doing?" It's like I haven't gotten a personal text from you in over a week. It's how are you
on
doing?
Vacation. I was letting you
like, okay, something's wrong here.
I was letting you go on your trip, so I didn't text you. You came back. I said, "How you doing?" And he was like all mad, like, "What do you want?" I was like, "I literally just want to know how you're doing." Anyway, tell us about your crazy wife.
No, okay. So yes, my wife is she's a psycho when it comes to traveling, and she gets super paranoid. So we have an airport in our backyard, but we chose to go to Nashville because it was cheaper. So we drive up the night before, stayed the night at a hotel that is it's like right outside of the airport. You can take a shuttle from the hotel to the airport. Our flight leaves
airport hotels.
It's an airport
hotel. Okay. So our flight leaves at 6:30 and she gets me up at 2:30 in the morning to travel 800 meters to the airport because she's afraid that we're going to miss our plane. Because one time in Colorado, we missed our plane by like 2 minutes and just had to get on the next flight.
Did you go to the airport at that time?
Dude, we were standing in line at security before they opened the doors for security.
My wife would have gone by herself and I would have met her at the gate.
Yeah, dude. I was like, this is someone that's Fern and I have been on probably no less than 1,000 flights at this point for seminars, and it's like we roll in as the pilot, as the pilot's like, we're taking off. Like, cool. Hold my my seat for me.
I look at it like this: if I'm at the gate prior to them boarding, I have wasted time of my life that I will not be getting back.
Yes.
And now, for the record, it is just standard operating procedure for airlines to operate very late, on some sort of delay.
All right, Cody. Luckily for you, you have married outside of your league, so you get up at 2:30 when your wife tells you to get up at 2:30.
100%.
100%. We are glad to have you back. We've got
the show without Cody. He gave a compliment. He said he was a great job. I said I was clicking the banners. I was doing.
Yeah,
all the stuff going on.
Last week you were you couldn't be on Fern, so I was with Katie, and Cody got on like 2 minutes ahead of time. I was like, Katie was like, "What do you do?" I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "I just hope Cody gets on." I was like, "I think I got to hit this live button," and then Cody got on, and I was like, "Never do that again. Never leave us again."
Yeah, Fern crushed it. He ran everything. He was running banners. He had intros going.
I was messing around. I was getting ready to pull some of the clips up. Like I was like, it's a trap. I was getting ready to. I was going to do it all.
Yeah, that's too much. I can't do that. All right, so let's dig in. Let's get on task. We got some people here ready to learn more. They take the level 1. This is all about, we finished breaking down the manual. We're going to do a Q&A next week, right, Cody?
Yeah, and ask me anything. AMA.
AMA. So next week we got an AUA, if you will. Ask us anything. And it's going to be anything about the level 1. Cody will put some posts on the social media. We'll give good ways to get it to us. But next week episode, anything you want to know, from what is CrossFit to the squats to programming, we will answer for you. Today we're kind of just wrapping up the manual. If you read through, there's a few pages at the end, the trainer agreement. Where do you go from here? And let's talk about it. I actually have a post to put up later, Fern, that says something to the extent of the level 1 seminar is the best course in fitness, in my opinion. Any course out there, this is the best. I don't care what you're going to throw at me. This is the best. However, it's just a jumping off point. It is just a starting point if you're looking to get involved as a CrossFit coach.
Is this where I chime in?
Add something.
Okay, add some value. So
That's
literally all I do. I was just waiting for you to finish. Yeah, I think, and that cannot be stressed enough, number one. And this is why it is a little bit frustrating that people poo-poo on the level 1 so much. Like it's not enough. We literally say that, Jay, one day potentially, if you ever become a flow master, when you close out a seminar, that'll be something you say, like, your journey does not end here. This is literally step 1 of a lifelong journey of footprints in the sand, where I carry Jay through that.
And continuing knowledge, right? Like let me tell you why I said it, for many reasons, but I put up that post today about 400-meter runs. They're not effective warm-ups. And a good friend of the show, we're going to Canada to visit him, Mike DeBoover of CrossFit YUL, YUL, was like, well, this should be in the lecture. And I was like, cool, what lecture are we going to get rid of? And he's like, that's like, because that's the thing. Everybody's like, well, why isn't this in the lecture?
What should be a lecture? Sorry.
How to run an effective warm-up.
Well, you could give it. I wouldn't be totally opposed to that. I think there's many ways that you could beef up some of the. I wouldn't put in a level 1. That may be like, potentially that could be a topic for level 2.
That's the point. There's only so much time we have in a weekend, and only so much we can fit in. My point being, like, yes, should we put that in there? Maybe. Should we put back squats in there? Maybe. Should we put hands? Maybe. It's designed well, and the point being, it's not over. Like, this is literally just the jumping off point.
Yeah. So where do we go from here? And this is actually a great topic, because I think there's some. I actually know. I was on a phone call today, kind of walking.
It's called soft talk, guys. Fern just got rid of some soft talk right there. I love it.
There's going to be some changes to the credential pipeline coming from CrossFit, and I think they're wholly going to be positive. They're trying to outline, or they're trying to button those things up. It's not for me to tell everybody what those are going to be. I agree with many of them. When I was a call on it about it today, they were trying to doing a panel essentially, and the big thing about that is the continued education of the coach. And that is going to be now stressed, not just within the CrossFit credential pipeline, but just generally speaking, the further pursuit of knowledge, which is the thing that we preach at the end of every single level 1 taught around the world. It is in the closing remarks. And one of the things we say is like, hey, you should be pursuing knowledge. You should take specialty courses. You should take online courses. You should take courses outside of CrossFit, because all of those will be beneficial, and you're going to need to garner more and more skills. Pat Sherwood, there was I don't remember who posted. I think it was the Beyond the Whiteboard podcast that he and Boz do. And he was making a comment about, past teaching the basics of the deadlift, the hardest thing that you will have to do as a coach is interact with human beings.
Yeah.
And it's not teaching the deadlift. It's navigate. Anytime we have questions, they're all about, like, I've got an athlete that insert whatever, or this person won't whatever, or they have a whatever. That's the art. Like, that's the subjective aspect of this. And in order to navigate all of those, you're going to have to garner a huge amount of knowledge over time, much of which you will forget, some of which you will retain. But the point is the pursuit of learning to be a better human and be better coaching. The level one is just the framework for that. And many of the topics that we and the concepts we talk about are all framed in some of the theoretical concepts within that lecture. And if you're thinking about where do I go from here, my first response is going to be go back and read it again and really ask yourself if you understand some of these concepts. And then after that, pursue all of it. Because one of the questions we had in here, I think, was what's the most beneficial kind of course that you could take outside of level one? And my answer is just the next one on your list. It doesn't matter. None of them. I've taken tons of them. You've taken more than I have, Jay. None of them are like the unlock key
No, they
for
all,
being a great coach.
it's like the whole is greater than the sum, or one of those quotes in there. But I think one,
You're referring to compound yet irreducible.
so I mean, like,
Yeah, the
you're
whole
saying
is
it's like
the
not,
sum is greater than its parts. Yeah.
yeah, it's not like the gymnastics course, the weightlifting course, etc. It's like just by plugging away. And I think something you said, and something that's really been on my mind lately, I've said it in our coaches development portion of Affiliate U quite a bit. It's like, you really got to love this journey. And if you're only doing the level one to get to the level two, to the three, to the four, or whatever, like, you're missing the point. Like when I did every special, go pull up my directory, Cody, Google Ackerman or whatever. You got to pull up my directory. I want to show you all of this, all the specialty seminars I've taken. And while you're doing that,
And the
point is,
the point is,
it was never like
Jay's still
have
terrible. He's taking all these specialty seminars. And he's still a garbage coach.
No, I was never doing it because I was like, I think there was no level 2, 3, or 4 at the time. It was just like, how do I get better at this thing? And that was what it was all about. And I think in general, like in life, that's something we need to be, whether it's your training, like I was thinking a lot about it, like these people that complain about programming or this and that, it's because they don't actually love the process of improving and getting better, which is what this thing is all about. That is why CrossFit is so awesome. If you only want to do it to, hit this games or to a certain number on your snatch, you're never going to get there because you need to really love the grind of it. And it's the same thing. This is how you get your 10,000 hours. Number one coach. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Look at that. Would you guys take a look at that? Barbell, endurance, the exercise science. That was funny. Gymnastics, judges, kettlebell, lesson planning. Look at all those. Fern, are you impressed by that?
Just for the record, nobody is going to contact this trainer.
I've got so many.
They should take this blurb out.
I got an email right now from this Nigerian prince who's willing to pay me millions of dollars.
You should definitely respond and sending him your account and your routing number. That's what you should
do. How do I know when you hit virtuosity? That's the thing. I don't know that you ever do. All right. There's some good things in here. I want to pull up a couple things real quick, Cody, before I move on. Corey, let's address this question. This is what I posted. If CrossFit works, even when applied poorly, why would a 400-meter run be considered a bad warm-up? Or are we saying that a 400-meter by itself is a bad warm-up? That I do agree with. I think it's context. To quote Fern, context matters, right? Are we doing a 400-meter run because the coach is lazy and just sending you out there and then we're going to do a snatch?
If you're doing a 400-meter, if you're sending everybody out for a 400-meter run so that you can get your thoughts together, this is now a bad warm-up.
Yeah. And it's like, what are we doing after this? Is a 400-meter run great to work up to the CrossFit total? Probably not, right? 400-meter run as part of a general warm-up might be very, very good, but it also might be very, very bad. The point of the post today was more, a lot of coaches are just like, all right, guys, let's go 400-meter run, get ready. That's when it's bad.
And to layer on top of that, and then we'll talk about this question about virtuosity, because that's what all of this is alluding to, professional training, scaling professional training, all the things that we're going to pull up here, just so everybody knows these resources, should look at them, is Jay is addressing a very commonly used tactic for younger, immature coaches who are using that time to get their thoughts together because they weren't prepped and they're not thinking about the overall strategy for the class to set these athletes up for success. It's just a tactic which use it if you need it, to waste time so that you can now get prepared for this thing that you should have been prepared for a long time ago. That is what he's referring to. And anybody who's been around long enough probably read between the lines there.
Yeah,
Not that a 400-meter run is a bad warm up. It's a bad warm up by itself if you're using it as a scapegoat to get your shit together.
Yeah, but if you write that on Instagram, no one comments, so I don't do that. Let's pull up Jorge. I don't know. I never know. Is it Jorge or George?
That is Jorge.
Is it Jorge?
George is George.
I have a question. How long would you suggest someone to go into the CFL2? A few weeks after getting level 1, even if we have experience as trainers before getting even the level 1. So basically, we get this question all the time. What's your typical answer for that? I've taken the level 1. How long should I wait to take my level 2?
Again, I don't know that it matters. Like it's not how long, right? It's like, what is your coaching experience prior to taking the level 2 is the question, right? If you're coaching 60 to 8 to 100 hours a month, you could sit for the level 2 within a couple of months after the level 1, because there's a certain amount of, again, context and reps that make the level 2 more or less beneficial, right? So if I have no coaching experience, much of the feedback given there will go over my head because I have no context for the feedback. If they're talking about you talk too much, that's going to be in relation to managing a group inside of a timeline. But if you don't understand those simple things, then the talking too much just might feel like they're picking on you. Or if you've never coached a large group of athletes and somebody's working through a seeing drill and trying to teach you about where would be the most advantageous place to stand managing 1 versus 5 athletes, you will have no context for why that is important or why it would be severely detrimental to you to not be in the right place. So that's really what it's about. And people say time because they're basing it off of an average of hours coached over a period of time, and that would lend itself to you showing up with some experience in order to get the most out of the level 2 possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you just said, ultimately depends on how much time you've got, right? But I think certainly not 5 years. I think if you're waiting 5 years, you've most likely waited too long. Like,
well, it's interesting you bring that up. That will be part of the new credential piece. Is there will be a lot of changes to that, and I'm actually really excited for them to launch. And I'm going to reach back out to Rex McIntosh, who's taken over for Nicole Carroll. Once they kind of finalize all of this, I want to get him on the show to walk through why they change these things and just get a little peek behind the curtain, because they put a lot of thought into this, and they're asking a lot of questions to a lot of people who've been around. Like I was on a call with, some old heads today who've been in the space, and some new affiliate owners. There was like a couple of our affiliate owners and affiliate you on the call, in addition in addition to HQ. So they're canvassing the right people and getting the right feedback.
By the way, Cody, the image you put up for today's podcast, Chuck Carswell looked to be like 24 years old in that picture.
Listen, that's what Chuck Carswell looks like when he shaves his beard all the time. That's what he looks like right now.
True. It's that beard is gray.
He's the youngest looking old man ever.
Mike, our number one donor. I have my level 2 the first weekend in April here in San Diego. You guys going to be there?
$100 donation, Mike, and we might make
yeah. Shoot an email to seminars@crossfit.com. Ask for us directly. Unlikely that we wind up in San Diego, but you never know.
Yes, Nick, that was Chuck. Yeah, see, we catfished Trish. She thought Chuck was going to be on here. That was Cody's. Cody was using Instagram.
Trish, stay tuned. Chuck will be on the podcast. It's just that we have so much love and respect for Chuck that we're waiting. Thank you, Mike. Let's pull that up.
Yes.
That we're waiting to be able to do it live and in person. As a new owner who wants amazing coaching as a cornerstone, first of all, thank you, Mike, for $5.
Correct you.
We appreciate that. That goes to the Cody Fund, to his next trip.
The St. Lucia Fund.
Yeah, his next trip where he can book at an airport that doesn't require 2:30 wake up. As a new owner who wants amazing coaching as a cornerstone, How do I balance the members that consider this overcoach? Ooh, this is a great question.
This is a great question.
Overcoach.
I think there's a very nuanced answer to this that many people actually won't understand. But you go ahead and answer this first, Jay.
First of all, Mike, I gave you a shout out for giving us $50 last week, but that's going to Joby. Joby won. Cody gave him the credit for the hip and back extensions. First of all, I would. How do I balance the members that consider this overcoaching and are turned off by it? Every member will have a different threshold for this, but I will tell you, just because one member is telling you you're overcoaching doesn't mean you're overcoaching. It might mean you're overcoaching them, and it also might mean they're so accustomed to not getting coached enough that any coaching feels like too much. But this is what Fern and I talk about all the time. The art of coaching. Fern said it earlier in the show, right? It's not, what Sherwood said. It's not the technique of the deadlift that's hard. It's the interaction with the members. As you develop, and this just comes from hours and hours, hundreds and thousands of hours of coaching, I can read someone. I was on a call this morning and I had to explain to somebody, and I was like, it sounded like an old grumpy white dude. And he was like, that's exactly right. And he knows the guy. And I was like, you just know people. Like, you coach long enough, like I know everyone. Like, and you will get better at interacting with people and understanding where that training threshold is.
If you want like a very specific answer to this question with regard to that threshold, one of the things to consider, and this is the virtuosity piece, right? This is like, I've got my reps and now I'm working on the art and the delivery of all the technical knowledge and balancing, keeping people's attention. Anytime I see that complaint, it is almost solely reserved for changing the pacing with which they teach and call reps, meaning they're talking too long, they're holding people in positions too long, they're not paying attention to certain athletes. And the reason I've seen it is because immediately if we run the drill back, what I will do is I will speed up the pacing while removing none of the content and then get feedback from the participants. And they'll all be like, that was significantly better. I was engaged. I didn't have time to think about being annoyed, because the pacing of the teaching and the reps and the transitions was all appropriate. And that's where the art comes in. This is where the planning and understanding of people's threshold for holding positions like the deadlift, barbell or PVC, how much is too much talking? Am I giving 5 pieces of information when 2 was actually all they needed before I transitioned to the next thing? That pacing thing is really, really important. And I might have talked about this before, but I think about like a conversation, right? So in this conversation, Jay and I are going back and forth. But at the point one of us goes too long, this now starts to resemble not a conversation. It's just me talking at Jay. And when you're coaching, that's kind of what it should be like. I should talk, they should do something. I should talk, they should do something. They do something, I give feedback, and then we reset. And there should be kind of a very natural kind of dance with regard to the teaching. And that has a lot to do with it. That's when people get angry, because the conversation has stalled, essentially. They're not doing anything. They're not part of the conversation of this class anymore, is really where that becomes a problem.
I think this is a great comment by Joby. Every single coach should read. I know, and I bring it up. First of all, it says they should read How to Win Friends and Influence People. Fantastic book. Let me ask you, both of you, and I'll chime in. What's one book you'd recommend that's not necessarily, quote unquote, a coaching book?
I'll come back to me on that one. I have to think about that.
There's only come back to me.
A lot of books.
You're one person away.
Cody's on here.
I know, but you're one. It's not like you're gonna have 10 minutes.
Right.
Well, I might only need 45 seconds. The point was there was somebody else that I could punt to.
That's like when you go out to dinner and your wife's like, "You order, come back to me," and I'm like, "All right, I'll have a hamburger. Back to you." Right. And she's like, "How long did you think that was going to take?"
Right.
Brendan just took mine. I've squeezed away by Ryan Holiday, and I haven't read it.
Let's do this, yet. Cody. Per your directive, everyone in the comments write your favorite book for coaching development. Cody always yells at me for not getting the comments going. let's take a page out of Joby, Brendan, and Amanda's book. Drop your favorite book for coaching in the comments, and maybe we can do something with it. But what do you got, Cody?
Yeah, Brendan took mine. The Obstacles Away with Ryan Holiday, and I know that he's got another new book out too that I really want to get my hands on. I don't know the title of it, but it's like a couple months old, maybe.
He's got. I mean, he's got he's got a new book coming out every week. I got them all.
Got them all.
I do. Yeah, I've read all of Ryan Holiday's books, but and I
Courage
read I Daily Stoic last year, which is his. What's that? Courage is calling. That's a good one. The Daily Stoic I did last year, which is like one a day. This year I'm reading Robert Greene's book, who was his mentor, and it's a lot of similar stuff. Fern, back to you.
There's a couple. I really love Legacy. It's about teamwork. And then I just finished reading on managing yourself, which I think is a great book. It's a collection of articles. It's part of I think there's a 10-book series. It's the Harvard Business or the Harvard book review or something. I can't remember what it's called. I'm blanking on it now, but it's part of that series of books. Really good book. It has because it's written by multiple authors, just kind of plucked from different articles and stuff like that. And I think both of those are really good. Talk Like Ted
That's a good
is
one.
an interesting book too if you're a public speaker. So those would be a couple.
Every coach is, right?
Correct.
That's true. I would throw on top of this the 5 Love Languages, like Dr. Gary Chapman. I think, you have to look at it from the perspective of coaching, and but every member of yours has a love language, and the way you interact
Crucial
with them.
Conversations is a great book.
That's another good one. And then really anything by Brene Brown. I think, pick one. Probably the classic is, Daring Greatly, I think is like her most famous one, or The Gifts of Imperfection. But just that was probably one of the biggest things. We started to listen to all of her talks. They're usually free, like on any library app, just understanding other humans.
So I think it'd be beneficial, like just for most people who have taken their level 1, there's a series of articles in there that we kind of close the kind of day 1 and day 2 of these seminar with. That everybody, it's worth going back and rereading these on a quasi regular basis. But where do I go from here? And the responsible training article is one. Where's that other one? Yeah, this one kind of talks about the risks of rhabdo and stuff like that, because I think this is one you should regularly remind yourself of, because this becomes more and more of a nuanced thing, because everybody thinks, oh, it's just pull-ups or it's just GHD sit-ups. And I'm like, no. Like, this depends on many factors. Depends on what the athlete's done, what is their threshold, what is their experience, how long have they taken a break from training, how old are they, what sex, like there's a lot of factors that go into that. And it's just worth reminding yourself to just to be a little bit more cautious with that.
This guy right here in this picture, Neil Thompson, he's the original owner of CrossFit Boston. Awesome dude. Oh man, Mike, look at this guy. Look at this guy, Cody.
Oh, we love you.
Yeah. This is, hey Mike, for the record, we've actually decided to stop paying Cody. You just give him only what you donate. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mike.
First,
we've coined you I think our number 1 fan, right? We thought you were a super fan, but we think number 1 fan is higher.
He's
number 1 super fan.
We have a whack pack, guys.
I don't know that I want to be in that group, but okay.
You're not in it. You're a host. So Howard Stern had the whack pack, and I would say like our current whack pack is Mike C, Corey, of course, and Trish. Yeah. And Nick Pierce. That's our current whack pack. Those are our 4 main members, and let's be honest, they all have their issues independent of one another. So they're all in the whack pack. Those are our 4 people currently. Fern, last week on the GHD episode with Katie, we talked a little bit about rhabdo. Have you ever had rhabdo?
Never diagnosed, but the short answer to that is yes, on at least 3 occasions.
Joby, you're close, but you're newer, Joby. Those 4 have been around longer than you. Let's be clear, and you can earn your way into the whack pack. Question mark. Question
Okay,
mark.
so
Okay.
Cody,
Sorry.
pull this up, and go to how to develop as a trainer article, because again, we don't
Ooh.
have to reinvent the wheel here. Again, we want to highlight that this stuff is in this information exists. Um, yeah, right there. Nope, go down. I think it's one more page, 146. Cody's not doesn't know how numbers work. Apparently, it keeps going backwards. Yeah, right here. So this outlines some basic things that we should all be applying. We'll just read through the list. One, coach or teach. You have to get out on the floor. So everybody's like, what's the next course I should take? The next course that you should take is the 6 a.m. at your affiliate tomorrow morning. That's the next course that you should take, because there is going to be some serious learning happening there on your end. Watch other experienced coaches. I don't know how you do. I'm pretty sure you and I did this the same, Jay. That's all I did in the beginning. I
Well,
watched everybody, dude. And I don't think coaches do that enough anymore. They're just like, I'm just not getting better. I'm like, you should just go watch people and steal their shit.
I didn't get to have the opportunity to watch a lot of people because in 2007 there weren't
Video,
much.
dude.
No, yeah. So I told you guys this on a previous episode. I walked upstairs and Roz was watching Andy Stumpf, and I was like, "Are you watching Andy Stumpf?" Before I just heard it. She's like, "How'd you
Right.
know?" I was like, "Because I listened to that video about 100 times as I was applying to be on seminar staff." But
Dude,
I also,
I had at one point, this is going into my 2009 deployment. So let's call it, there's, I don't know, at least 7 years of the journal existing at this point. I went on deployment. I downloaded every video from the journal and categorized them. So if they were teaching, if they were level 2, level 1, by the movement, the specialty videos, and I basically memorized all of them. All of the videos, I was like, if that comes up, I'm going to be able to do that. Like, there's old videos of Dave Tate in there,
yeah,
Austin Beebing, Adrian Bosman. Like, I mean, there's just infinite number of videos in there. And I used to go back and I would had them all. There must have been a couple dozen folders broken down by category, and I would just watch them on repeat. And that's how I learned to coach at first.
well, and the other thing that I did, I between October of 2007 and February of 2008, when I took my level 2, now the level 4, I think I took 2 additional level 1s. So I took the level 1 3 times.
Right.
You know, for no other reason. Like there was no internship, there was no seminar staff. It was just like I want to do that thing again and get better. By the way, shout out to Trish. This is why she's part of the Whack Pack.
In the whack pack.
She gets it.
The old, Ryan, I posted that thing with Ryan the other day about the 75 hard. That was Ryan's post, and we shared it. And it's like, yeah, you should be reading an article of the journal every day. If this is something you care about, and if you don't like reading, watch it. Like, there's so much out there that you should be taking advantage of. But yeah, go to we've talked about this. You're all, well, in the continental US, would you say everyone is Corey Leonard? Would you say everyone is within 2 hours of a level 3 at this point?
Oh, I couldn't speak to that, but the point is it doesn't matter. It's like you should try. It should be on your radar to try to make that happen.
Yeah, and not only is every lecture archived, Trish, you could buy the level 1 lectures. Katie spoke about it when we had her on, talking about how she achieved the level 3. She watched Chuck and DT and Jenny and whoever else is, given those like every day. That's it. Like
Yeah.
it should be a part of your everyday living. All right, next turn.
Obviously watch more experience. Film yourself coaching. My dad had this saying when I was growing up, when I watched a ton of film in high school. Film doesn't lie. Whatever you think you're doing versus actually doing will be exposed when we put you on camera. And that is you will be your own worst critic, and that is the fastest way that you will learn, is by literally putting yourself out there, videotape it, and all of a sudden your learning and your awareness of your own mannerisms, what you do, will be put on display for the world. So film yourself. It is so valuable. It's insane.
And it's interesting because we watch a lot of videos and give feedback in the coach's development
The
portion of it.
progression, like how valuable is that to people?
Ask Cody how many people are watching that on our Instagram. A ton, right? And but even like was it yesterday on our call, Ren, owner of Flexor in San Diego, we watched her video and she was like, "Oh man, I did X, Y, and Z," and I was like, "Well, how'd you know that?" Because I videoed it and watched it. And I was like, cool, like I'm going to give these people feedback, but just the act of videoing yourself, makes you step up your game. And then, yeah, no different than watching tape for Division I basketball, right? Like you go back and you watch. And she was like, "Oh, I didn't give enough dynamic cues," or "This one worked really well." That's one way you get better, for sure.
So after that, obviously attend your level 2. I think it's the best course that CrossFit offers with regard to the ability to get feedback and have some serious improvement over the course of 2 days. Attend additional courses. We talked about that. Read and study everything related to training, movement, and health. Notice it doesn't say read CrossFit stuff. It says everything related to movement and health. Study and follow CrossFit.com. Again, it's a free resource. Just get in there and be committed to learning and pursue higher credentials, whether they're in CrossFit's training pipeline or not. USAW level 1, USAW level 2. If that's your thing, you have to have athletes qualify to move up the USAW ranks after that. But that's the whole point. You should be pursuing those credentials.
All 4 members of the Whackback have donated on this show, for the record.
Well, let's whack it up, everybody.
Let's whack it. Let's whack it. Oh, geez.
Jesus, it's going on a shirt.
That's one of my old members at Albany CrossFit. Let's go on to let's talk about. I got a question for you, Fern. Like we were talking earlier, people say, "Oh, we should do this or that in the level 1." Is there anything you would add to the level 1?
Add?
Yeah, like
no.
You don't think there's anything? Is there anything you would take out?
It's already such a huge aggregate of information. Like adding more to it for the sake of scratching an itch that somebody just happens to be focused on at this time would take away from the what I consider to be profound nature of that content. There is no reason to add anymore. What other people want to add are things that you need to go learn on your own. Well, they should teach this and this and this. I'm like, that's the practical application of these concepts. Go use that. There's no reason to have that in this setting. I understand why people want it, but that's what all the other specialty or SME courses are for. You want to learn more about powerlifting and low bar back squat and box squatting? Cool. Go do the conjugate. If you want to learn more about the kip swing, cool, go gymnastics. You're like, why don't they teach the kettlebell swing? And I'm like, go do the kettlebell course or the RKC course, like whatever, who cares? Like, that's the point. There are people that will dive, whatever your question is, you will find a workshop, a seminar, a course, something where they will tell you everything you would ever want to know about that thing. That's where you should go for that.
Yeah. And, a couple of things. Yanitza says she'd make it a 3-day course. It used to be a 3-day course. And it's evolved. I think most flow masters, wrap up the weekend with, this thing has evolved from your feedback. So please give us feedback. But, like you said, add kettlebells. I took a level 1 that had kettlebells in it, and, they've changed it, and it's evolved over the years. What do you say to, what is the pass fail rate? I didn't mean to pull that one up.
I want to say it's like in the 70s. It's like mid 70s, I believe is the.
But I was going to pull this one up from Brendan. Would you remove
anything? No, I don't think I would remove anything. I think the level 1 is super well refined. I'm not really sure at this point. Any changes to the level 1, I think, would in my very candid opinion, be changed on personal bias. But objectively speaking, I don't know that I would change it. I would change some things about the level 2, but not the level 1.
And Trish, for the record, the zone diet is not nearly as big of a talking point in the nutrition lecture as it used to be. So
It's in there. It's just they've broadened the spectrum for the additional protocols that they talk about. So they talk about intermittent fasting, macros, paleo. If you want to like throw in RP, and
keto
it's more
even.
along, yeah, it's more along the lines of like, what do all of these have in common? The reason they use the zone, or the reason we use the zone in the level one, is because that's the one that the CrossFit community has the longest standing, I guess, practice or practical application of at this point, because that was the first one that they kind of adopted
One, if
at
you think
large.
about it, relative, because we kick off the lecture talking about hormone response, right? So relative to your insulin and glucagon um, release, the zone has, I'm going to say the best, but probably the most direct influence on balancing that out.
It's like the easiest quantifiable application of a nutrition protocol with regard to the kind of teeter totter of insulin and glucagon, right? It's not perfect, and none of them are, by the way. It just makes sense when you're talking about, we have this, this really big problem with regard to insulin, and here's a very simple, very quantifiable, very effective, balanced way with regard to the three macronutrients to start addressing that. And again, that would be the same as like the level one. It doesn't end there. I mean, how many? We'll stick with the zone for a second. How many different versions of the zone did you do, Jay?
When you say versions, you mean like different blocks and then different amounts of fat, etc.?
Yeah, did you ever do like the skinning the zone, or the
Oh
triple the
yeah,
fat, or like,
I totally forgot about that. Oh yeah, I
yeah,
did.
that's old school for all you people out there.
What was that? That was like when you drop the carbs but add the fat in the
It
beginning.
it was something to the tune of half. I don't remember because this
Yeah,
is upwards of 14 years ago, but
I finished my level one, and I remember coming back at six. I did 16 block. I talked about this in the nutrition when it was on. I went 16 because I was a medium male. I went 15 because I realized I was a small male, and then I went 14 blocks because I realized I was actually a well-muscled female. And so I had to, come to that realization. And then I was like,
you're
okay,
still a well-muscled female.
some might call me a
A
chubby
little bloated.
female.
It was a
Yeah.
little bloated.
But then I didn't know. I did eventually double, triple, quadruple fat.
What's the
Um,
highest fat you ever did?
I think it was up to like 5x at one point. That was when
I
Austin
did
was
five.
around and we were just like
I went
crushing
to five.
cashews all day.
I was super lean too at
Yeah.
five.
But I'll
I
tell you
did.
this.
Go ahead.
This was a big nutrition journey for me. If a small tangent, about 10 years ago, I competed in my last jiu-jitsu tournament. I woke up and I was 160. Brian, you cannot buy your way into the whack pack, for the record. You cannot buy your way into the whack.
Actually, I disagree, Brian. You can absolutely buy your way into the whack pack.
So anyway, let me tell this story. I woke up at 160 pounds. Got this letter in the mail. There's a company, I think it was NAGA, North American Grappling Association. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm going to do a jiu-jitsu tournament, 130 pounds. So I was like, I got to drop 30 pounds. It was like 3 months out. And I got myself down to like 10 blocks a day on the zone. And I was basically starving myself, and my body wouldn't lose weight. And I was like, just like I couldn't drop any weight beyond, like I was at like 145 and I plateaued. And that's where I was like, okay, you got to like, that's where I learned about macros, because I was like, you can tweak macros a little differently than the zone. Um, no, Corey. So anyway, I don't even know why I was telling you that story.
Welcome to what it's like to be partners with the
I'm
Jason.
seeing all these comments
Hey,
coming in.
I would just like to
about-
take a sidebar, everybody, so I can tell a story about myself that has no relevance to this conversation.
I think the relevance was like the zone works, but you can go too crazy with it too. Like I was starving myself, and that's where it was like macros helped me learn differently, right? Because I was like, oh, we can manipulate these
Right.
things, we can add more, like, so lots to learn. But yes,
And the
big
whole point with
takeaway:
all of
I'm a
that
well
is,
muscled female.
but this all goes to this is part of the overarching theory, which is nutrition training or whatever. The story that we both told was we just started doing it. We made mistakes and then we altered it. We started with the zone, and then I worked up to 5 times fat, and then I think I did like skinning the zone with 5 times fat. That was
Yeah,
devastating.
totally forgot about
Did
that.
paleo for a while, and then I did intermittent fasting for a little bit. Played around with we have both done RP. So all of that is the same as training. It's just like, get out there and train. Go do the courses. Go do the nutrition courses, like just practice because and the reason all of this is important, you're going to come across people as you guys coach more who are going to ask you about these things, and this is the stuff that you want to be super well versed on. So you don't need to be the authority on it, but I would argue that as a trainer you should be aware of it. You should know what it is that they're talking about. Like, so when I'll give you an example. When we teach people in Affiliate U to do an onboarding, for the record, we have no specific onboarding. There's just, you could do it a lot of different ways. People are like, I'm using Proven or whatever. And I'm like, can you send it to me so that I can look at it and I can tell you what I think about it and I can be educated on what it is that they are teaching, not good or bad, just know that it is in fact a thing and then adjust from there. So it's all about just learning more. And I'm like, oh, I like that and I don't like this. And, I've learned like all sorts of little nuances from different resources like Training Think Tank and all that kind of stuff. Like there's tons of smart people out in the ecosystem, and you should be consuming all of their stuff and then immediately turning around and going to use it.
Like they say, you learn your best from teaching others, and that's what it's all about. Let's dig into additional questions from the producer, shall we?
Cody was like, "Is that me?"
That's you. I mean, I'll read them, Cody, but just give
Well, I
me.
mean, we've already touched on a couple of them, but
I know I'm not going to read the redundant ones. I get you. I get you.
all right.
How about this one? Do you think CrossFit Games athletes should have to have a valid L1 in order to participate in the sport?
From a bias standpoint, yes, that's simultaneously silly. It doesn't matter.
It is interesting, though. There's not many other sports where there's this seminar that you can take, right? Like that earns you a credential. It isn't what, and I know you have no idea, but if you had to guess, percentage of games athletes like show up at the games, individuals only, male, female. So say there's 80 of them that have an L1 or have at least attended an L1 in the past.
I bet it's higher than we think.
You think so?
Yeah, just because in order to make it to that level of fitness, you've probably have to have been doing this for a while and you've been in the gym, at which point there's at least a decent likelihood that they've done a little bit of coaching and then they probably just didn't pursue it after that. But I would be willing to bet that it's at
I think
some
it's
point that
going
is
down every year.
that's okay. There we agree. It's probably
Definitely
going
not
down
80%.
because no, definitely not 80%. But I bet a couple. I bet if we rewind back 5 or 6 years, it was probably the majority. But I would argue it's probably less than the majority now.
Yeah, I would say like less than 20% now. I'd say back at the top, so it was probably 50 to 60. Like
Clearly, Matt Frazier did not take the level 1 before going on the Joe Rogan show.
that's very true. But I know like Rich had taken it. I mean, he was a part of seminar staff.
Yeah, he taught it for a while.
I mean, a lot of people. Okay.
Well, I mean,
go ahead, Cody.
Like, what percentage of pro football players do you think have a college degree? That's kind of like what I would relate it to. Like, you don't have to have one to play pro football, but you have to have.
You do have to have graduated college though, so you can't, or you do have to have made 4 years in college and played college football because you can't be drafted early. So that is actually probably a very very high percentage of them unless they got drafted out of JUCO. That's probably a bad example. Basketball would be a better example because there is no requirement to finish school to make it to the D League or to the NBA. But like you have to have played college football. So that college football is probably like a very high percentage. Basketball, even baseball, maybe.
Baseball you can get drafted out of high school.
You can get drafted out of high school and then play in the development league. So basketball is one where you can just leave college after 1 year.
You don't even have to go to college, right? For basketball?
Yeah, but most of them do. There's a handful of the Kobe Bryants of the world that are like right out of high school. LeBron James's, stuff like that. But those are very much the minority. The vast majority of them will come at least some stint in college.
Did you consider just skipping college and going directly to the NBA firm?
I absolutely did, and then realized that I was not good enough. But I definitely thought about it.
Man, I don't think you guys watch this, but college wrestling, the NCAAs were on this weekend. Those guys, so impressive. It is amazing, these student athletes, like, and how their mindset and how determined they are. Man, if you guys don't watch college wrestling,
March Madness, baby, basketball, lots of upsets.
I don't watch basketball. What
We
is
know.
the MDL1 about? Is it different than the traditional L1?
Content wise, no, it is not, but it is reserved for a
You have to
medical
be a
professional.
doctor, right?
You can be a physician. I believe nurses are allowed in there, physician's assistant. I don't remember what the technical um, cutoff would of that would be, but it like help call it healthcare professionals, and we need to call it like call in. I don't know if we
Cody,
could.
can
I don't know
you
if we could.
Google that? How do we get callers on the show?
You can do it. You have to have a third party line, I think.
Let's
But
do it. Let's add callers to the show, Cody. Starting
but
next week.
it's
Oh, that's
targeted
terrible.
towards the medical community so that we can start to work into the medical field from the ground up. So that those is only, and then it used to be a running joke that Coach Glassman would speak at those, and at the beginning, and the whole timeline would just fall apart. So
Yeah, I was gonna say he used to even like have them back at his house after. Um, but if you're a medical professional, certainly something to check out.
Hey, this brings up a question earlier from Omar that's kind of in the same vein.
Did you say Amar?
Omar.
Omar. Do you all think CrossFit will ever be considered as a means to replace physical education and health in the education system, especially with all the data we have now? And
no,
by the way, Omar's a teacher. I don't. You're a music teacher, aren't you, Omar? Not a phys ed teacher. I don't think it will ever replace physical education, but I can definitely see proactive schools making it a part of the curriculum.
yeah, it'll never make it into there because the education system is so broken. So like changing, I mean, they're just like, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to get them to just put anything that would resemble PE back into some schools, much less like do CrossFit. I agree that most of those will be administrative. Um, they'll be unique to the administration that values the physical health and mental health of their students that would do that. But
Man,
it'll be private schools, charter schools, stuff like that. You won't see it anywhere else. I have zero hope for the education system in its current state.
know what I miss? Badminton.
I thought you were gonna say like those bag milks.
No, badminton. So our high school used to have like a full on tournament every year after the season in the gym class, and I was always in the top 8. It was really like cutthroat. Do you guys know I almost became a PE teacher? Did you guys know
Probably wouldn't have been good at that either.
that? I found CrossFit, saved me from becoming a teacher. Jump rope for heart. I used to do that, Trish. We used to have an overnight every year for jump rope for heart. Did you guys have that?
Did you get the President's Award? Were
I
you
got
able to
the
do the?
President's Award
Okay,
somewhere. I
no,
think I got Clinton. I think I had Clinton back in the day. Did you guys do jump rope for heart?
I don't think so.
I did, Dan. You're absolutely right about me. Look at Dan. He's my number one fan. I bet Ackerman killed the flex arm. Dude, in PE, I was so unathletic. Go ahead, Fern.
Go ahead. What? You were, yeah, you would be. You would be what my dad used to call. You were on the all PE team.
You should, but that's where you'd say you still are unathletic. But I couldn't
Correct.
do like the rope climb. I couldn't do a pull up. It's all about 10th grade. Then I became like moderately athletic. All right, more questions. And then we got some starred ones from Cody. I see you. Apart from the L1 and L2, what specialty seminar do you think holds the highest value for most coaches and affiliate owners? Kind of talked about that, but
Yeah, I don't really think because it's different. It depends on where you're at as a coach and what you need, right? So the next best course is probably the one that aligns with your greatest efficiency in order to get you to progress. So it
I,
could be the lesson planning course. It could be you don't know shit about gymnastics. Go take those so that you can beef up your skill set. So I think it should always be an assessment of where you're deficient and then go there. Again, no different than fitness.
I agree. I will say, out of all the in-person specialty seminars, gymnastics, weightlifting, and then aerobic capacity are probably the 3 best.
Kids when they had it.
Yeah, that's online only, right? At this point,
Correct.
yeah, that
Conjugate method. There's a lot of really good, interesting stuff there.
I was looking at this as like a more of like specific populations of people, like the kids, the aging athlete, the adaptive courses. Like, how can I broaden my my tool set?
the The adaptive was online for a while. I do think there is an online component of it. It'd be worth having Alec or Kevin on to talk about that. But it's a great course either way because I think it applies more broadly to just scaling in general. It's I don't. It's not. It doesn't have use just. I've only taken the online version. It doesn't have use just in the context of adaptive athletes as defined by the adaptive athlete term. It could be anybody that's injured essentially, whether it be permanently or temporarily. And I think there's a ton of good. Corey with the with the Ozarks reference. Um,
Did you guys watch Ted Lasso last week? The new one?
what kind of question is that? Did you watch The Mandalorian?
I give up on the Mandalorian, but I gotta watch the second episode of Ted Lasso tonight because we didn't have internet.
We now have a rift.
um, yeah. So let's go one more question. If the L1 is all you need to open an affiliate, why is there no business education?
Well, it's funny that you should ask. There is, in fact, business education. And if you want to go into the affiliate partner network where there are aligned businesses to teach education, you will find a small but yet intriguing company called Best Hour of Their Day that offers something called Affiliate University, where we teach affiliate owners all of these things. And this is I will not speak for CrossFit on this, but I have been told and heard this, and they've said this at affiliate summits, and I've been in many calls when they talk about this. CrossFit is fully dedicated to utilizing the full spectrum of knowledge in the ecosystem to raise the overall level of affiliate owners. So there's certain things they're going to do, and there's certain things they're just not going to do. And they might do a little of some things and none of other things. But the direct answer to that is because I think when Coach Glassman started this, he had no intention of this was not in the vision.
Well, and also keep in mind the level 1 is not necessarily for affiliate owners.
It's for coaches.
Right. It's for coaches. So, that's why. And, it goes back to everything we said. If you want to be better at weightlifting, take weightlifting. But if you want to be better at business, we
Become a
are,
business coach.
and look no further. Look no further than us. We've done some
Corey, the affiliate partner network is it's coming to Hulu soon. We're working on that contract.
We got a documentary series coming out.
The affiliate partner
network behind the paywall though. Like you're gonna have to pay the monthly premium.
Yeah. Or you're gonna have to fork up some more change here, Corey.
Yeah, more than $7.63, whatever you donated. But we got Nikki Sharp, Brian Boucher, Joby. I mean, Nick is a Brendan Ziegler,
Candy Hughes.
Andy, look at all the people that have been a part of Affiliate U. Anyone that's been in Affiliate U, do us a favor in the comments. Drop one thing you loved about it. Drop one thing. Don't go crazy. Just one thing you loved about it. And then also, Cody, per your request, while you're on here, please like. What else can they do? Subscribe.
Share.
Tell a friend that Ackerman and Fern and Cody have a podcast every week. Start screaming it. But go, if we need to be better, like these videos. Katie,
that's not helpful, Brian. That's not helpful.
Garbage experience. But make sure you like this. Give it a heart, whatever you need to do, because we're actually growing. I see our numbers are going up. Even the people watching live, we appreciate you guys. Cody, pull up some of the questions that we've had in the chat that you've started. What do you think is the most glossed over by the attendees that could use a refresher in the post L1 email? Ooh, so what thing do the participants of the seminar kind of grasp the least at the end of a level 1?
Well, typically based on the questions at the end of the seminar, it's the definition of CrossFit, but
and maybe one of the models of fitness typically.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a tough question because of again, some of those, at least the theory lectures specifically are pretty robust in their content, and the depth of that content is several layers deep. But what I would say, I think most people gloss over is the the main kind of salient point of the technique lecture, because this is the thing. Like everybody's just like, "Oh, CrossFit jumping." I'm like, there's literally a lecture based solely on that topic inside of the level one, and I think people, even when we give it, I think people, it's hard for them to grasp because intensity, the idea of intensity and the impact of intensity is so aggressive that it tends to overshadow this idea of balance of technique and intensity.
Yeah, and I would throw on there just understanding coaching is not just running around giving cues, because they see us coaching the small groups and not recognizing, like an earlier question that we have about that threshold of like we're taking someone too far, and I think you gain a lot of that at the level 2. Cody,
Wait, what are you asking me?
are there any other questions?
Oh, yeah, we have another question. Yeah, I thought you were asking me about this question.
I want to be as good as the seminar staff. What do I do to become that good of a coach? Obviously, besides extra education, which I'm already doing.
Coach
That's it.
a lot
Coach.
and
Coach.
get feedback on your coaching.
Where are you from, Yanitza? Where are you at? Drop it if you're still here in the chat. Maybe we can hook you up with somebody. While Yanitza's North Carolina. We got
This is
plenty
a
of
top.
people
This is
in.
a topic that got brought up. So on that note, because a lot of people have this question, and to some degree was brought up in a call today, and I think this is worth stating. Maybe not.
We'll find
That
out.
that's a difficult pursuit.
Seminar staff?
Yes, and by its very nature, it's not easy. And I think a lot of people want it to be easy, meaning they're like, "Oh well, this should be closer, and I should have access to this, and we should think about this and that." And I'm like, it's not supposed to be easy. It's hard.
When you think
It,
about
being difficult is part of the filter for doing something like that. Like it's supposed to be hard. And what I mean by that is like you're gonna have to sacrifice. Like you're gonna have to spend your own money to travel to somebody's gym and have them coach and have somebody give you feedback and in air quotes waste time doing drills. It is time consuming because the everybody that wears a red shirt is in the ongoing pursuit of mastery. And when you if you're trying to put yourself in that group of people, it's just assumed that this is going to be difficult and it's going to take a long time.
yeah.
So what I would do, you need says I would settle in and I would be okay with that. I heard a quote recently. It was just stop asking how long it's going to take and what it's going to cost. It's going to take how long it's going to take and it's going to cost what it's going to cost. So just start cutting checks.
I like that. Who said that? Sounds like your dad.
It was me.
Talking to your
That's,
4-year-old.
yeah.
Stop asking how
Yeah.
long
It's like,
it's happy.
listen, it's going to cost what it's going to cost, son. No, but I think it's important. Like going back to what you said earlier, Jay. Like it's about the journey, and if you really take that on and be like, what's it going to cost? I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm willing to pay any amount in my time and money in order to get where I want to go, and I'm willing to invest any amount of time, whether it's 6 months of just complete solidarity or 5 years of slowly chipping away at this thing. Like it's going to cost what it's going to cost and it's going to take how long it's going to take. So just start moving in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously spot on about it. And I was doing, watching college wrestling this past weekend, looking at the percentage of wrestlers that start and make it to a Division I school, like 1%, less than 1%. I'm sure it's up there with basketball too, right? And it's the same with this. Like this is the pros.
Fern quoting Fern as Michael Scott.
That is funny.
Uh,
That is funny.
the
Wait, before you
pull
go
up
on,
this question. No, pull up this question when you're ready. But from Jorge, I'll start here, Cody.
we'll get there. But Raleigh, who do you know in Raleigh, Fern, for Yanita?
Oh, Ashley Totten is close to Raleigh, and who else
Is
is
Donnie
there?
in that area?
Donnie Forbes. He's not on seminar staff anymore, but he's like not in Raleigh. He's in like not Silver Springs, like closer to Asheville. Andy
Kendall?
Hendel is close to Raleigh. Um, When I
For
say close, I mean within a couple hours, within 2-3 hours of rally.
So there's a few people
Uh,
you can head to. And he said, and
yeah.
if you need more clarity on that, email Cody, and then he'll pass it on. Is that cool, Cody?
Yeah.
CODI at besthouroftheirday.com. Yeah, pull it up for Jorge. Coach
Can we
ethics.
talk about coach ethics? Have
Well,
some points I'd like to ask. So ask away here, Jorge, so that we can get those answered.
the thing about ethics is
It's ethical.
any
Um,
in Orlando. Orlando, who do we know? Uh, Santiago Callejas is in Fort Lauderdale.
yeah, so
Amazing
it's
member. He
a couple
owns
hours.
CrossFit Riptide. Go check him.
Todd's
Out of
down in
Kudos
Florida.
in
Um,
St. Augustine.
Melissa Reed is down there.
She's, I believe,
Uh,
in like the Boca area.
yeah, I'm trying to think who else is down there.
Because I mean, there's a ton
Yeah,
in that Florida. Chris Russell's at Jacksonville.
yep,
Yeah,
that's right.
plenty of people in at least Florida. I know that's not all Orlando, and I'm sure there's more. We're just trying to come off the top of our head. Jorge, hit us with those ethical questions if you have them before we wrap up the show. If there's any other questions you guys have, yeah. If you guys ever are in an area and you're like, who can I go see? Shoot us an email and we will try to point you in the right direction. And as a coach, how deep can we go into the life of our athletes? How deep can we get involved? Ooh,
It's a
anything,
slippery slope. Slippery slope is what I'll tell you. All right, Jay, I'll let you go.
I think it goes back to
Answer first as creepy Jay of
oh,
pre 2015.
well, I
And then
almost did it
post.
where he goes, how deep can we go? And I wanted to do a little, that's what she said, but I refrained today. Trying to be professional on this show. So I think it goes back. I don't remember who asked this earlier, if we were just talking about it, about like overwhelming, like overcoaching. I think so. Somebody asked it. Was it Jorge about this? And I think it's the same thing. You have members there that are there to get fit, and they living, whether happy or miserable lives, they don't want your input. And then you have plenty of members that want your input to a fault. Like you're gonna have major extremes, and you have to determine like what that means for you, what involvement you want to have. And I will tell you, you also have to draw boundaries, because I've had people reaching out to me about things that they shouldn't be reaching out to me about. And, you have to be willing to be like, hey, this is either not my scope, not my business. I don't want it to be my business, or I feel, uncomfortable with this. So, with that being said, certainly at your affiliate, you should be forging amazing relationships. And to me, a sign of a good affiliate, I mean, Fern's been at like 8 weddings this year alone from his affiliate, right? Or, you've married multiple people from your affiliate, like
Yeah,
so
married
many
3.
of us, 3. So, I mean, you should be creating that. And some of that comes from this, but at the same time, it should be welcomed by your people, and you will know when that is happening.
Yeah, I think that I would give it like a kind of a weird non-answer, but we'll use the what is fitness lecture. Like, how much of any one of these 10 general physical skills do we want? Is only enough to increase the curve or increase the area underneath the curve. And it's like, how much involved do I want to be in my client's life? Only as much as it's beneficial to both of us, right? At the second there's that kind of teeter totter goes in one direction or the other, and it becomes negatively impactful, then I think it's too much. And something that I learned a couple years ago was, when you're a new coach, you're just so eager to help people with everything, and it's just like, first understand your scope. Like, you're not a life coach, you're not a counselor, you're not an addiction coach, you're none of those things. And it can be really easy to be giving input that you're not qualified or experienced or have enough life experience to be giving to people, and just know that, like, yo, this is probably not for me. And I think understanding this concept of trauma bonding, when somebody's bringing you a lot of their stuff and you're like, oh, I totally, like, that's, you have to be able to learn to kind of like disconnect yourself from certain scenarios. And sometimes your best advice would be like, you should go see somebody about that. I can't help you. um, so I guess that's a little bit of a deeper answer, but
Well, let's dig into his follow-up. Also, I work in an affiliate in Houston, and the previous coach was kicked out due to sleeping with some clients. I think.
So the clients didn't like it, or what?
Well, I don't think it was non-consensual from the sound of it. I think it was consensual, but but frowned upon by management.
It's definitely not a way to get follow-on hires for sure.
I think if you own an affiliate, it's, I want to say, inevitable that there's going to be some, shenanigans happening at the box, right? There's going to be relationships,
It's not bad.
right? It's not a bad thing, and it's.
I've had many people who've met in the gym.
You're
Like
about
if
to
it's
say I've slept with many members.
no.
That's where we're
You almost tripped me up. You almost tripped me up. I almost gave myself away.
Yeah, but one of our, I won't say any names just in case, but they were asking me about, like, hey, I got this coach and they've slept with a ton of people, and I'm like, well, this is where they hang out. This is where they have fun. This is where they interact with people. The alternative is having a coach that goes out drinking and partying, and that's where they meet people, right?
It's like having
I
college
want my
friends.
coach-
You're like, they slept with one of
Yeah.
their friends. I'm like, well, that's not weird. They're together all the
Right.
time.
It's a problem when it becomes a problem, right? Like, I've met, I dated members when I owned a box, and if you're not a turd, you can end those relationships like you would whether they were members or not, right? Like, but you're gonna meet people at your affiliate, be it an owner, a coach, or a member, and I think that's a sign that you're running a good, healthy community. Now,
Yeah, I mean, if
it
a
can go
gym owner
wrong.
wants to make those rules, you can make those rules. That
And
can
how
be part
but
of.
then how are you gonna police it, right? Like, make those
Well, I mean,
rules,
if,
but
if
what's
it's
the
very clearly stated in some sort of employee agreement or employment agreement that you can't do that, I mean, it's pretty black and white. Like, you can't do it. Doesn't matter how you feel about it. Just says no. It's kind of like doing testosterone. Don't care how you feel about it. If it's against the rules, it's against the rules. And if you get caught, regardless of why you're using it, you're going to get penalized for it. I think your job there, more importantly than that, is to make it very clear what the rules are
right?
with regard to that. Like, whether they do or they don't, the rule is like, you can't bring your shit in here. And
And
if that happens, everybody goes away.
this is Corey, I literally almost used that same quote. This is classic Seinfeld. George sleeps with his secretary, and he's like, if I knew that was wrong, I wouldn't have done it, right? But going back to your what you just said, I had a coach, love the dude. We're still very close friends, and you've met him, Fern, when we were in Austin, and our rule was like, you can do what you do, but if that person leaves the gym because of you, like, we have a problem. Never did that happen. And he, had quite a few consensual relationships, but there was never an issue. And I was like, all right, like, you're doing something right.
Guy.
And at the same time, it was like, I don't think his intent was just to sleep around. Like, he, was a young guy and he was dating
Right.
girls. And it's like, there's those people. What were you doing it for were you being appropriate or not? So cool. All right. So let's wrap up there. Thank you guys for your questions. Thank you guys for your contributions. I can't tell, but have they liked this video, Cody? Have they been liking it, sharing it?
Yeah.
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 Tell your friend to tell their friend. Ackerman and Fern have a podcast every Wednesday, every Thursday, every Monday now. Lee. That dude, he's a chiropractor. He was from North Naples CrossFit. Good. Here's the thing about Lee. This is a fantastic story. Lee is a fit and handsome dude. I did not coerce him. He happened to coerce me. But
he willingly got into a relationship with you?
Willingly got in a relationship with me. Lee's a great example of a young guy joins the box, and I was fitter than him, and then just gradually over time he became significantly fitter than I was. And I was like, oh man. Good to hear from you, Lee. Hope everything's going well down there. Anyway, Mondays we got the affiliate hot seat now. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern?
So not yet. We got one more on Thursday. We've got Audrey I hope I'm saying that right, from the Netherlands, and I had already rescheduled on him twice, and so I was like, I'm not going to reschedule again because he's in a different time zone.
That's
So
tomorrow.
Not this Thursday. Not this Thursday.
it's gonna be on Thursday, and then we're going all Mondays from there.
All
But
Mondays.
That's next Thursday, the 30th, though. Not
Cool.
this Thursday.
Is there an episode
not,
Thursday?
Not as in tomorrow.
Thursday or Friday this week?
We did one on Monday.
So you had Monday. Tomorrow we got the progression. Who we got, Cody?
Josh Francisco.
Oh, Josh is coming on?
Yeah.
Old 97. Let's talk about North Carolina. He's in North
Crushing
Carolina.
it down there with his affiliate.
Yeah.
Can we talk about when he joined real quick? Affiliate.
Yeah, I remember that story.
When he was so how old is Josh?
21, 22 maybe.
He's super young. So this was he might not even been 20 at the time.
Yeah.
And he's like opening his affiliate, and his dad is basically interviewing me to see if he trusts us to work with his son.
Yeah. And long story short, Josh did a great job, was in our continuing ed program, just crushing it down there. I'm really excited to talk to him. That's cool. So that's tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern. 3:30 Eastern. By the way, outside of the podcast stuff, certainly check out the Instagram. Like Cody and Fern spoke about earlier, the knowledge is dropping. I see new content coming out all the time. And if you're going to be at any of the summits, Fern's going to be at, what's the next one? DC, right?
2 weeks in Glen Burnie, which is kind of outside of Annapolis, DC area.
Fern
I think
will be there.
That one is packed. I think there's well over 200 people registered. We'll see how many show up, but it'll be a lot of people.
David Osorio is going to be there, so you guys will be doing your thing. Psychedelics with Dave. And next week, Cody, where can they submit questions for the AUA?
The best place will be to email me, but I'll also put out some Instagram posts that'll be like a question post, so you can just post them there, and I'll gather all of them to bring onto the show, or just show up on the show, like in the chat.
Yeah,
like
we love it. We love interacting with you guys in the chat. Now we've got an official Whack Pack. Who was it again? Trish, Mike, Nick, and Corey. The official Whack Pack. Yes, and by next week, Cody, try to have the call-in function available for us.
We'll see what I can.
You've got nothing else to do all week long. You're getting paid well. You've probably earned.
Savon does it on his show, but I don't know how.
So does he?
People he used to.
Yeah. Savon does it. There's a way to do it. I don't know how to do it.
Trish, you're not getting my number. It's for my wife.
You put the funniest comment on one of my posts not too long ago. I can't remember which one it was, but I put a pretty serious post, and you put up such a funny comment that it had me laughing. I just didn't respond because I don't want to. It's like I don't want to respond to everyone, but you put something so funny up. I wish I could remember which post it was. I'll have to look, but it cracked me up. It got an LOL, Trish. So I appreciate you. All right. Great episode. We got Q&A next week. Then we go right, by the way, breaking down the level 2. Cody, rattle off some of the guests we got.
We've got Teffy. We've got EC. We've got
Pat Barber, Joe DeGane, Steve Haydock, Jen Hunter Marshall.
Yeah.
We got
rock stars.
The level 2 is going to be next level, if you get it. Unintended.
I see what you did there.
All right. We'll wrap it up on Nikki Sharp's note. Go watch some Ted Lasso tonight. Have some fun. Be a goldfish. And we will see you all tomorrow on The Progression.
See ya.
See ya.